It was November 6, 2018, in Eindhoven, and I had stayed late at the office again, the kind of night where the fluorescent lights flicker just a little too much and the hum of the computers becomes almost deafening. I worked in IT support, and the building had emptied hours ago. Most of the staff left around 6, but my work never ended that early. I liked the quiet at first, the way the silence allowed me to focus without interruption, but that night it felt heavier, like the walls themselves were watching me. There was a coworker named Eric who always stayed late as well, though I barely interacted with him. He was in accounting, quiet, polite, the kind of person everyone thought of as harmless. He blended into the background, nodded politely when passing, smiled faintly, and disappeared into the night. I had noticed him before but never paid him much attention until that night, and the nights that followed changed everything. It started slowly, as things often do. At first, it was just coincidences. I'd be working on the third floor fixing a network issue, and suddenly I'd see him somewhere near me, as if he had been waiting. If I went to the break room, he was already there, standing silently, pretending to look at his phone, but somehow always watching. I told myself it was nothing, that late-night shifts attracted certain people who liked to work quietly, who preferred solitude, and I barely thought about it. But then came the questions. Do you always leave at this time? Which exit do you usually take? Do you park in the same spot every night? I laughed nervously at first, brushing them off, because how could he possibly know these things? I had never told him, yet he asked with a casual tone, as if it were normal. It made my chest tighten in a way I couldn't explain. A few days later, things escalated. I was finishing up in the server room late at night when I noticed my office chair had been moved slightly. Not dramatically, just enough that someone could have been there. My monitor had been active, showing a spreadsheet I didn't open. I told myself it was probably a glitch, exhaustion messing with my perception. Then I found a note, handwritten, tucked under my keyboard. Watch your steps. The parking lot isn't safe tonight. There was no signature, no context. Security dismissed it, saying someone must have been trying to be helpful. But I knew better. My instincts screamed that someone was watching, and for the first time, I realized it might be someone close, someone I thought I knew, or at least someone I worked with every day. On November 4, I noticed him outside when I went to my car. He was standing across the lot, just observing. When our eyes met, he gave a faint smile and turned away. I hurried to my car, locking the doors as quickly as I could. That night, I stayed on the phone with a friend as I walked home, just to hear another voice. Sleep did not come easily. I kept replaying small moments in my head, the way he appeared silently in the hallways, the way he asked questions he shouldn't have known the answers to, the way he watched without ever moving. I tried to rationalize it, to believe that I was imagining things, but the fear was growing, persistent, gnawing at the edges of my mind. The night of November 6 came, and I had stayed even later than usual, trying to finish a system update before the weekend. By 11 o'clock, I was alone on the second floor. The lights flickered, and then the building went dark, leaving only emergency lights casting long red shadows across the hallways. My phone lost signal. I froze, realizing that the quiet I once enjoyed had turned suffocating. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Slow, deliberate. They stopped when I turned my head, but then I saw him, Eric, standing at the far end, his face partially illuminated by the emergency lights. He didn't speak at first, just watched. When he finally did, it was soft, calm, almost casual. I knew you'd still be here, he said. I've been watching for months. I know your habits. My stomach dropped. The instinct to run screamed in my mind, but my legs felt rooted to the spot. I tried to keep my voice steady, telling him that security had been alerted. Whether or not it was true, it was the only thing I could say. I backed up slowly, my heart hammering so hard it felt like it might burst out of my chest. Before I could think, shouting echoed from the stairwell, sharp and urgent. Heavy footsteps followed, pounding upward, growing louder by the second. Security was responding to the building's automatic alarm, triggered by the sudden power outage. Their radios crackled as they flooded onto the floor, flashlights slicing through the darkness and catching dust in the air. Eric turned toward the noise, his face draining of color. For the first time, the calm certainty he always carried cracked. He took a step back, then another, eyes darting as if searching for an escape that no longer existed. When the guards spotted him standing near me, they shouted commands, their voices firm and practiced. Eric hesitated, panic flickering across his face, then bolted toward the hallway. He didn't get far. 2 guards tackled him within seconds, forcing him to the floor as he struggled weakly, more desperate than aggressive. Another guard grabbed his arms, snapping cuffs around his wrists. The sound of metal clicking shut echoed in the silent office. Eric stopped resisting almost immediately. They hauled him to his feet and turned him toward me. For a brief moment, our eyes met. His expression was blank, unsettlingly empty, as though everything he'd been hiding was finally exposed, and there was nothing left to pretend. He didn't say a word as they led him away, his footsteps fading down the stairwell. The investigation later revealed Eric's disturbing history. He had been dismissed from a previous job for obsessive behavior. He kept detailed notes on coworkers' routines, schedules, parking spots, and habits. I wasn't the first person he had targeted, but I was the one who reported him in time. He was arrested and later sentenced. The company overhauled security, installed cameras in previously blind areas, and changed policies so that no one worked alone on late shifts. My coworkers, the ones who had thought I was overreacting, finally understood what I'd been trying to warn them about. I transferred departments shortly after the incident and eventually left the company altogether. It took months for me to feel safe in similar office environments again, for the instinctive fear to fade. Looking back now, years later, I realized the real horror wasn't supernatural. It wasn't a shadowy figure lurking in hallways or a ghost haunting me. The terror was human. Ordinary, polite, familiar someone you never suspect could cross a line. Someone who knew my routines better than I did. Someone I had worked beside every day. Someone I had trusted without question. Behind that calm exterior was obsession, calculation, a quiet attention to every small detail of my life. Surviving wasn't luck, it was instinct. Listening to the quiet voice that whispered, "Something is wrong here," acting before fear paralyzed me, reporting unusual behavior before it escalated, refusing to ignore the signs. That decision is why I am still here to tell this story. I tell it often, not to frighten, but to warn. You never truly know the people you work with, especially in quiet offices at night, where computers hum and shadows stretch long across sterile floors. You never know who is silently observing, mentally cataloging your movements, anticipating routines, calculating every small vulnerability. Even now, entering a quiet office at night, I check exits, note camera locations, and watch hallways. I notice reflections, shifting shadows, sounds that don't belong. Horror does not always shout. It can be polite, quiet, lingering at the edge of your awareness. It can be patient, waiting for a lapse in attention. But I survived. I acted. I tell this story so anyone who hears it understands one truth: intuition is powerful. Observation matters. Speaking up can prevent a nightmare from becoming reality. No one should underestimate someone who seems normal, who blends in, who watches silently. Human behavior, subtle and quiet, can be the scariest thing of all. My story is a reminder: trust your instincts, notice the details, and act. Because action is what separates survival from tragedy. Pay attention. Speak up. Stay aware. That choice can save your life.